order the regular meeting of the Morris Township Board of Adjustment for April 29th, 2024. A legal notice required in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act has been satisfied, and a statement certifying same will be executed. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Goldberg,
Here.
Ms. Rothman. Here. Mr. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Schuster.
Here.
Mr. Trachtenberg.
Here.
Mr. Kramer.
Here.
Mr. Woodford.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Ms. Laney. Here. Mr. Warner.
Here.
And I, Sonia Santiago, here.
Okay.
Miss Betty. Sorry, Miss Simmons. Here.
Okay. First order is the consideration for approval of the minutes of the February 26th, 2024 board meeting. Members, any comments on the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept?
Is that a second?
Second.
Okay.
Who was the second, Sonia? Schuster, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
And one abstention. Sonia.
Okay, next we have several resolutions. The first being for BA-01-24, Morgan Stanley Cyber Success. Council.
Oh, summary, Chairman, certainly.
Yes.
That was, Mr. Oler drafted these resolutions, as the board is aware. This was amended preliminary and final site plan and use variance approval, D1, to construct 2 building facade mounted signs at the office located at 340 Mount Campbell Avenue. And it was an approval with conditions noted on page 3, and hopefully it's an accurate memorialization of the board's determination in that matter.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Williams.
Ms. Santiago, roll call.
Kramer. Okay, Mr. Goldberg.
Yes?
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Schuster.
Yes.
Ms. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Woodford.
Yes.
So moved.
Next, we have
Brian. Okay.
BA-02-24, Brian Latanzio.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, that was to modify an existing non-conforming dwelling by constructing 2 one-story additions and squaring off the rear of the dwelling, and it involved multiple bulk variances, side yard setback along the easterly side, along the westerly side, and combined side yard setback, as well as an expansion of a non-conforming structure. And the board did approve that application as well. Conditions noted on pages 3 and 4. And again, hopefully, our board attorney memorialized that resolution and that decision accurately as well.
Okay. I have one note on there on the first page, about a little more than halfway down. In the first clause, first paragraph, beginning with whereas, there is a number 8 in the middle of the flat
yes.
line, and that should be omitted.
Omitted.
Okay. For that adjustment to the resolution, does any other board members have any comments concerning the resolution? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Goldberg.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Schuster.
Yes.
Ms. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Kramer.
Yes.
Mr. Woodford.
Yes.
So moved.
The third resolution is BA-03-24, 390 South Street LLC.
And Mr. Chairman, that one was for permission to construct a 157 square foot addition to a pre-existing non-conforming detached garage involving various bulk variances, front yard setback, Dwyer Lane, rear yard setback, roof height, building coverage, 2 accessory structures, whereas only one is permitted on the lot in the zone, and to allow 2,932 square feet of total floor area for all accessory structures in excess of the maximum permitted of 900 square feet. And that also was an approval, conditions set forth on pages 3 and 4. And again, hopefully an accurate memorialization of the board's decision in that matter.
Okay. Board members, any comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a
Second.
Okay, Ms. Santiago?
Mr. Goldberg,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Ms. Simmons, Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Woodford.
Yes.
So move.
All right. Next is BA-17-23, Michael Ewing, Block 6503, Lot 54. Ms. Santiago?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of this application was to announce a special meeting date for this application. I was unable to get the board to come up for a special meeting, so this application will continue on May 20th at 7 o'clock.
It's May 20th.
May 20th. Well, we'll see if I could get a special meeting in between that time, and then we will make an announcement on the 20th.
I got a son who graduates, and on the 28th, he goes active duty.
So with the chair's permission, yeah, we can swear you in for testimony if you wish with respect to the request to carry. But if I can help perhaps explain further what Ms. Santiago was saying, it's not necessarily expected that the hearing is going to continue on May 20, but the municipal land use law requires that when the board adjourns a matter, they, without further notice, they have to announce, the board has to announce that it's set for a particular date, time, and place. So if I understand Ms. Santiago and the board correctly, they're going to continue to endeavor to find a date that might be able to accommodate your being present as objectors. So it's not set in stone, and it may not be at all that it's taking place on May 20th, but for now, a date has to be set, and that is the next meeting date, as I understand it.
That is
Yes,
correct.
that's correct.
And also keep in mind that if a special meeting, we come up with a special meeting, the applicant will have to notice. Okay? So there will be, if there's a special meeting, he have to notice for that hearing.
So the short of it is the board, as I understand it, is going to continue to try to accommodate your being present at the hearing.
Okay, so if the meeting proceeds, we're not here. So we'll tell you right now, obviously, we don't want any of the variances that have been
Well, we can't testify now because the hearing's not continuing right
Right.
now.
Right.
So
So how do we
right.
express?
I think you want to stay in communication. I'm sorry, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair.
I think you have expressed that through your questions with very much certainty. But we are endeavoring to find a date for a special meeting. Ms. Santiago has sent out 2 rounds asking people, I can get this date, I can get this date, can I get a quorum together? And right now, there's several dates at the beginning of June that we're looking at. But she has to poll all the board members to make sure that they're available, the board professionals are available, and the applicant is available with their witnesses.
May I ask you a question? I'm the neighbor of the side. Will my attorney be brought into this loop to make sure he's going to be available?
I think it's, if I may, Mr. Chairman, that
Yes.
I think everyone should stay in touch with Ms. Santiago as to when May 20 may turn into another date.
No, that's fine.
It's okay. That's what I'm here for.
So,
Okay? But just keep in mind that if we come up with another date, the applicant must notify the neighbors within 200 feet. Okay? Of that new date.
If it's not it for us? Is there an avenue?
It would probably be in the first complete week of June if we got a special date.
And that's the other date that is the first week of June, we are taking our daughter to the Air Force Academy. All the military stuff. in the
Well,
firehouse.
if I may, Mr. Chairman, suggest that, is there a counsel for the applicant for that
Yes.
particular matter? There's nothing wrong with communicating with Ms. Santiago or making a request to counsel to try to, for the applicant to try to accommodate you. Ultimately, as you might imagine, it could become a situation where they have a right to proceed with their application at some point, irrespective of trying to accommodate everyone who might want to be here. But certainly, I would hope that they would, work together with all
Can you
interested parties.
Can you send a note or an email to Ms. Santiago with the dates when you would be available?
Yeah, it's just-
Or the days you wouldn't be available, and then we can work out from there.
Thank you.
Okay, okay.
So do you have to present this?
Yeah, so we, again, for now at least, the matter's been carried without further notice to May 27 PM, this same location, the municipal building, for now.
Next application is BA-20-23, Ms. Santiago.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is BA 20-23 Donna Munther. Block 2807, Lot 11, 9 Shady Side Street in the RA 15 zone for Section D. Applicant proposes to convert existing detached garage into an in-law suite.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, with your permission, I did have an opportunity to review the notice. I found the content to be sufficient. I found the notice to be timely served and published. It was served by certified mail on April 8th, published on April 11th, both of which dates are at least 10 days prior to this evening. So the board does have jurisdiction to hear and decide the application this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sir,
Chairman, members, nice to see everybody. On behalf of the applicant, Larry Callie. Thank you for having us tonight, Mr. Chair, members. We intend to be relatively expeditious on our end. I realize the relief involves relief technically, and we'll explain that shortly, and I'll introduce you to our witness deck. But there's not all that many moving parts of a project like this, and it's a type of a project I think this board has seen a number of times over the years on varied properties with different circumstances, but not a very unique request before the board this evening. Very brief background, Mr. Chair and members. The property that we're talking about here at 9 Shady Side, for the record, it's block 2807, lot 11. It's more than a double-sized property. It's about 37,500 square feet of a property in the zone that requires less than half of that. It fronts on two streets, Shady Side and Terrace Avenue. There's an existing principal structure. There's an existing accessory structure garage. There's also a pool, a shed, and accessory equipment related to that pool. None of that is changing by way of this application. That's all remaining. What's changing here is the repurposing of that secondary structure. We're going to call it a carriage house just to be consistent this evening. That garage carriage house structure is proposed to be utilized as a residential dwelling unit. One dwelling unit. It's going to have one bathroom, 2 bedrooms. Our architect will walk you through the floor plan loop. But the intent is to repurpose that structure that's there now for purposes of a dwelling unit. And the intent is for the applicant to essentially stay on this property with their family. They've been on this property just shy of 50 years already, the applicant's family. They intend to remain. The applicant's son is a full-time firefighter in township. They all want to stay here. So the plan right now is for the younger generation to occupy this carriage house as a dwelling unit with the parents in the principal structure. And then eventually there's probably going to be a swap. When the parents decide they're going to downsize, the parents will move out back to the accessory carriage house. And the younger couple, who's growing a family, will move into the principal structure. The intent is for this to stay under common ownership, a single lot, utilizing the buildings that are here for this family to remain on this property for years to come. That's the intent. It brings us to this board because we've got a secondary structure in a single family zone that's proposed for residential habitable use. So it brings us here for D relief for that. There is no other nonconformity proposed. Coverage is conforming, building and impervious coverage. Setbacks conform. There's no new deviations proposed for that garage carriage house structure's top height. No new structures being located within the setback. It's really a repurposing of that structure that's there today for this use as a dwelling unit for the family. We're going to have two witnesses, Mr. Chairman, members, and you're going to see one new exhibit. So first, you're going to see our project architect, Mike Gutwillig. Mike will walk you folks through the survey that was filed by Lakeland. There's not much on it. There's no new development proposed, but we can orient the board members with the site by that site survey, which shows the existing setbacks and structures and everything that a sort of a diet version of a site plan would show you. And then Mike will walk you through his architectural floor plan loop. There's not much to it. It's a single floor to be inhabited by the applicants. And there's some elevation details we'll show you as well. Our second witness, Paul Rickey, our project planner, will testify. I know Paul's been here a number of times recently. Paul's going to walk everybody through the justifications for the D relief. And we will have one planning exhibit we'll mark at that time, Steve, when we get to it. It's a short deck. It shows an aerial of the property, the surrounding area, as well as some site photos from different vantage points as we walk the board through and try to get everybody's comfort level there with the use variance relief. And that, Mr. Chairman, members, that will probably be the entirety of our case. We hope to do it in less than an hour.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Mike. Yeah. Yeah, just in case you don't have this.
Let me know which one you.
Callie, C-A-L-L-I. No. The survey, if you have it first.
Perfect.
Please.
Just say survey.
Thank you.
Yes.
If we can get your name and address, please, business address is fine.
Sure, Mike Gutwillig, 401 Mount
I'm
Campbell.
sorry, can you spell your last name?
Gutwillig. I reside and work at 401 Mount Campbell, same place.
And in your license, professional background, academic experience, Mike, we hope to
I'm going to swear him
qualify
in first.
you. Okay, yeah, good, Steve.
So it
Yeah, no,
counts.
that's
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Thank you.
so thank God.
So Mike, if you would, for the benefit of the board, your background and credentials in the field of architecture, which is what we intend to qualify you in shortly as an expert.
Well, I went to NJIT, received Bachelor's of Architecture, worked for 5 or 6 years for different corporate firms doing corporate architecture. And then I took my exam and I've been practicing as residential and commercial architect for the last 17 years in New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and New Jersey, of course.
Your license is current and in good standing in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
We'll accept you as an expert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, thank you, Sonia, for bringing that. So, Mike, what we have up here on the screen now is the filed Lakeland survey. It's not mocked up. It's the one that's been submitted to the board. If you wouldn't mind just briefly orienting the board with the property as well as the subject structure that we're going to be talking about shortly, the carriage house.
And if we could just get the last revised date on the record. I have 1/11/24. Is that accurate?
I believe it is 1/11/24, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Whatever you're more comfortable with, Mike.
You could use that microphone on the stand there. Just press the button.
This right here?
Yes, press the button at the bottom, please. Just, you could take it out. There you go. Press the button in the bottom to turn it on. Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah, hold it down a little bit. The light should go on.
I think that works. Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, I can just use this could be as a good way to designate. So I guess there's a corner lot right here, and the original house is right here on the main street on the sunny side. And then the side street here wraps around and goes up a hill, and then they have a garage in the back. That's the proposed reuse right back here. So it's been existing. The other houses, the neighboring house is over here, some area. And basically what our idea was to take the upper level, the ground level, and to just basically reuse the first level as being a residential a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and a living room for the relatives to basically have so they could each have a different place to stay at.
That structure that we've been talking about, Mike, the carriage house structure, for continuity purposes, let's call it that. It's existing today in its current footprint, square footage, and size, with no changes proposed to that, the structure itself. Is that right?
Yes, it's an existing wooden frame garage structure.
The only repurposing is effectively the interior of that to make it habitable space.
Right.
On the upper level.
Correct. That's what we're basically going to be doing, is just basically filling in the box on the first floor ground level to make it so going from a storage area / car area to now a place where two-bedroom people could stay for a certain time.
Any other site changes proposed, Mike?
Nope. The only other change maybe would be to revamp the ramp that would be for to get cars in. We'll probably change that into a steps and a little walkway to main front door there.
But nothing that requires board review or code deviations.
No, everything is within the code requirements for the town.
You want to go to your plan sheet now, Mike?
Sure, you can step to that.
The architecturals, please.
The architecturals.
Please.
Well. The technology has gone up quite a bit since the last time I was here at the.
Don't jinx us.
Yeah.
We brought paper backup just in case.
This is true. This is true. I always bring up the old-fashioned paper documents just in case. All right, so this is basically the architectural layout, the elevations, and the plan.
And if you could just give us the last revised date on that so we can confirm it's what was submitted.
That was submitted back in August of last year.
I've got 8/18/23. Is that the last revised?
That's the last revision.
First and last. Okay.
Yep, for the architecturals, nothing really much has changed since day one.
Hey, Mike, if you want to start walking the board through the floor plan loop, I know the elevations are effectively staying the same, but if you want to walk the board through the loop,
Okay.
talk about what the rooms are going to be allocated for and total square footage for the unit.
Okay, correct. Well, where the existing, if you remember from the site plan, the existing ramp would be right here, which we would convert to 3 steps and make that the new front door, which is basically the door for the ground floor. We would modify the area to have a sliding door that looks out onto the pool behind, and there would be 2 bedrooms and a bath and laundry room and a kitchen, and basically all within the existing footprint of the existing garage. And then below would be the existing garage where they would still continue to use that as a garage. And this would be the back that would look over onto the pool, and this would be the front with the new, where I guess it was a barn door that was going to be converted into a regular traditional styled front door and windows. And it's around, I think it's 900 square feet. I think I have on my thing here.
885 exactly. You're around just under 900 square feet.
Just under 900 square feet for the existing conditions of the footprint, and no expansions or any changes otherwise. And they've maintained the same height overall also.
We've got some existing utilities running to the structure now, I believe.
Yes, I do believe it has electrical and water, but I think that they'd have to inquire about getting sewer from the town. And otherwise, I think everything is self-sustained. They have everything already there.
Now, you heard my proffer to the board, Mike, as to the goal and purpose here of the applicant with the 2 structures for the family. In your own words, when you were tasked with designing the space, the purpose was what exactly in your own words?
Well, I guess in this today and age, post-COVID situations where there's a lot of more families that are living together, and there's extended family situations going on these days, it seems like if you have a situation where you have a space that's underutilized and you can use that for something to have, so that you can have your family live together for an extended period of time, I think that it all fits into a very simple plan, and it makes it so that they could be able to, since Brendan, the son who wants to live here, potentially, he's working in the town as a fireman, so he's going to be around here for quite a bit of time, and family has been here for quite a bit of time, so I assume that they would both be wanting to kind of make it so that they can kind of have it so that they have, basically both have shared residence, which has become somewhat of a norm in this day and age.
And Mike, the last question I have for you, it's sort of unrelated to zoning, it's just a confirmation. We're putting habitable space above the garage structure. You're obviously going to meet all building construction code requirements, including all fire suppression requirements that would apply, right here?
Correct, yes. For all residential requirements, all those things will be met when the construction commences, when we get permits,
Thank you.
which would be phase 2.
Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions. Mr. Gutwillig, I make him available to any questions you
Sure.
folks might have.
So I'm somewhat familiar with this property because I've walked past it probably about 200 times on our regular walking route. But the property, the lowest point on the property would be like in the northeast corner, is that correct?
Yes.
On the survey?
On the survey, yes. So if you're looking at the survey directly, the lowest part of the property would be on the lower left-hand corner.
And its highest point is the southwest corner of the property, is that correct?
I'm not sure if I think it's the,
Northeast and southwest.
yeah, I think, well, at the top right would be, or the top part of the survey would be the upper part of elevation there. It kind of goes up a hill and it tops up at the top of the hill behind the back street there.
Right, southwest. So, so this front, the asphalt driveway that's shown on the survey that leads up to this present ramp.
Correct.
Going to stay an asphalt driveway?
Yeah, everything that's on the site that is existing today on the survey is all going to remain. It's all pre-existing. Nothing is being proposed to be added. It's all those are all landscape situations that are all been there previously.
Okay, and I note on the plans, there's no staircase leading from the garage to the proposed dwelling areas.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes, it would be added. It would be kind of treated as, I guess, 2 separate spaces.
I don't have any other questions, board members?
I had a couple questions. Do you know?
Can you
what-
turn your microphone on, please? Thank you.
Okay, great. Do you know what year the garage was built in?
88.
I'm sorry,
Word from above, it was built in 1988. So
Sorry, I know you know what the answer is, but hey, we got to swear you in before we can like pre-offer.
On the plans in the bathroom, is that a can you? It looks like it has a tub.
correct. Yes, it would be a lavatory toilet and then a tub shower
Mhm.
and then one vanity.
Just curious because some of the things that you think about when you're thinking about this potential future swap is ADA compatibility. If parents are going to be aging in place. So I just was wondering, with having a tub there, if that was, it sounds like someone younger is going to be living there for a while first.
Oh, I felt that usually as a standardized type of situation, usually I offer in my designs, I would offer a tub / shower combo.
Okay.
And that way, you have the room and space to do whichever it is and that way, younger people that want to do a bathtub or older people that want to do a bathtub, they can have a bathtub. And then, other people that want to take a shower really quickly, they have both those options. So, and this could, in terms of if you wanted to make it one floor living, this stairway here is technically right now is a ramp right now. So if they wanted to ever make it into a ramp or add a ramp at some time, then they could easily do that. And that could make it so that if like you had someone who was older that couldn't get around very well, they could easily make that a ADA kind of accessibility.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other board members with questions? Any members of the public with any questions?
I did have one, if
Okay.
I don't know if our planner engineer have any, but the plans say that the maximum height is an existing just over 18 feet. Is that accurate?
Yes, well, we actually went around, we had to get the survey redone a couple times because there's obviously, due to the steep slope, due to the fact that the property does slope, that they were, and generally in all the towns that I've done zoning analysis for, we usually do there's an average between the heights around the entire building. So we did, I think it's on the survey, if you look, that it will show the different elevation marks that we had redone by the surveyor to show that it maintains that certified, well, the height that they calculated by
The
going.
reason I ask is it's according to the zoning code table on your plans, it's an existing or pre-existing perhaps non-conformity because the maximum permitted height for the accessory structure is 15 feet, if that's accurate on your plans. So I guess the question is do we know, well, the garage was built in 1988.
Correct.
Did that pre-exist the zoning requirement for a 15-foot max permitted height for an accessory structure?
Yeah, I'm not sure the history on the maximum heights with the town, but I do know that they've I think they've changed over the years. But I do believe that now it's, they have it as, I think it was 25 for the main structure and then 17 for the accessory structures, or am I?
35 and 15.
35 and 15? And do we know when that ordinance came into play, David?
I'm looking.
Okay. Again, my apologies. If I could, Mr. Chairman, I forgot to swear in our board professionals. Our planner and our engineer, both of whom just raised their right hand. Do both of you swear to God or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you both. Now you can tell me, David.
Under chapter 9536 accessory structures and uses, under subparagraph A, it says amended December 6, 2006 by ordinance 2806, but it doesn't state which sections of that first subparagraph were.
So we don't know if it was under 15 or under before.
Yeah, don't
2000.
know, it just here, the maximum height of any accessory building except as provided in Article 4 shall be 15 feet.
Maybe I could just to speed this along, Mr. Chairman, my apologies.
Sure.
Didn't mean to slow us up. Just want to make sure we do get it all right. Council, did you, would you concur that it might be prudent to request a bulk variance relief in the absence of proof that this is a pre-existing nonconformity?
Without a doubt, we asked the board to recognize an existing structure, so our Oprah did not yield any prior resolutions from the board for any height deviations. The
Gotcha.
structure was permitted, right, but no prior resolution, so the only fair assumption is we predate the code. However, I think to round out the edges, the request is for this board to recognize the existing structure is 18 feet and is permitted to remain.
Right.
And with that, sometimes they refer to that, I think the legal term is a cleanup variance. It would be, the catch-all provision in your notice would certainly cover your notice for the D variance and any and all others. So it's my opinion, the board does have jurisdiction, should the board grant the relief requested here, to also grant, should the board so desire, a bulk variance for height of the accessory structure to remain at 18 feet, 1 inch, whereas the max permitted is 15 feet, in light of the fact that we don't know definitively, at least at this point, whether this is a pre-existing non-conforming conformity or just something that hasn't gotten around to being addressed by the board. Also, I don't know if, is it safe to say that the TCC meeting summary of October 12, 2023, that all 8 of those matters were either resolved or you'll stipulate to the conditions of approval set forth therein, unless I'm stealing our board planner's thunder, which I'll stop, but with your permission, I'll continue. We got a new survey, right?
We do, that's the one that we
Yep.
just showed you.
You added the tax map and the location plan on sheet B2 of the plans?
This was all done pre-completeness determination. yes.
Right, so all these items, 1 through 7?
Mhm.
Okay, got
All
verification of the height, we just addressed that. And there was, maybe, I'll leave this to our board planner with the chair's permission, but there's at least reference to the consideration of a deed restriction with respect to the occupancy of the new unit, something for the board to consider, as well as the possibility of a sunset provision as a condition of approval. Do you wish to address either or both of those?
I think the appropriate one might be a condition that restricts the secondary use to have this connectivity to the principal use. And that is the applicant's intent, that this is going to be a family relationship between those who are living in structure A versus structure B, the carriage house. And that's the intent in perpetuity here. So the applicant would have no issues with the deed restriction, whether it be an actual restrictive instrument recorded or the resolution itself recorded, which indicates that the user, the occupant of that carriage house, needs to have a familial relationship with the persons who are living in the principal structure. That is certainly something the applicant's amenable to. And with that, we see sort of no need for the sunset as a redundancy, because
Right.
something like that should logically survive in perpetuity because of the structure we're dealing with here, the lot size, the area, the composition of this property. We think the variance is the variance. So the deed restriction, we think, would certainly be appropriate, and we're amenable to that.
Okay.
And would that be also with the assumption in the condition that the lot size is remaining as is and not being further subdivided?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, that wouldn't preclude the applicant one day from trying to subdivide the property, raising that accessory structure carriage house and pursuing development of a larger single-family structure. But the applicant will agree not to further adjust lot lines here, diminishing the lot area, so long as we have this carriage house structure in use. I think that's fair.
I don't, I guess there were some conditions of approval from the utility authority that
Right.
I take it you'll be stipulating to as well?
Yes.
April 11, 2024, Southeast Mars County Municipal Utility Authority, conditions of approval with respect to water meter, meter pit, and serving size certification. And the fire department didn't have.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
I don't have anything further. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I just have one clarifying question on this,
Sure.
on the SMUC letter. So it says if the work does not require an increase in the size of the water service or relocation of the water meter, maybe for the main dwelling can remain as is. Has it been determined yet whether or not it can remain as is, or if it's the water line?
Excuse me, the existing water
The
line?
water line, yeah.
Yeah, I think we were talking about the fact that they were going to find out whether or not the service was going to be large enough for them to add a meter. But I believe that they're going to have to, if it's 3/4 inch, I think they can add another meter to this existing service. I believe it.
Yeah, there was some language about where it was going to be tapped and then the pit itself, and then, the long lead time on the meter pit itself. So to me, I don't know if this is going to need the meter pit or not, or if that would be sort of, someone's raising their hand, but
No,
yeah.
No.
Run a well. I see.
First, your name and address?
Hi, Bonnie McCluskey, 9 Shadyside Street, Town, New Jersey.
Okay, and this is a witness you're calling as an
This is a representative of the applicant.
applicant. Okay, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. With the chair's permission, proceed.
And the last one. MCCLOSKEY. 9 Shadyside Street is currently using a well, so if we do need to add a water meter, it would be the first water meter on the property.
Oh. Thank you for that clarifying point. It's important. So thank you. It's a big one.
Any board members with questions? Yes.
What about, are we talking septic or town sewer?
Mike, you want to get into the sewer service to the property?
I believe it's a town sewer, but
I
yeah,
believe
so
it is.
the whole area there is all served by the SMC MUA. They're for the sewers. I believe it makes it easy too, since it's on a corner lot, that they have access from both Sunnyside and also the adjacent street also, so.
Right. Okay, any other questions of Mr. Lilly?
Just one question, Mr. Chair. There's no additional lighting on the outside, right?
The only light, well, required by code, we generally will put the, when we do the permit drawings, we'll obviously put, there'll be required lighting outside of every door, so there'd be lighting outside of the entranceway. And that's something that will be added when we get to go for permit drawings.
You're thinking a residential type carriage lamp?
Correct, yes, a wall hung sconce would be outside of every exterior door, so, and that would be just the one door there. And then it'd probably be a door, a light out here too in the back.
No light spillage off the premises, correct?
No, it would be a wall sconce, just to light the perimeter of the entry.
Is there going to be gas service to this or propane, or is it just going to be electric and water?
I'm not sure about the gas. There's gas, but yeah, I think that they'll probably will inquire to get service to gas because they're going to have a certain amount of HVAC to deal with. So there will be. I don't know if there's gas existing or not. I don't know.
gas and electric existing.
And I'm guessing that 9 Shady Side brings their trash out to Shady Side.
Yes.
And then this new property, this new residence will come out on to Terrace Avenue.
I think we would play it by ear and do with whatever the collection, folks are looking to pick up, whether or not they make that turn there. So it could work its way out the Shady Side. It may come out on the side street and be more convenient, but we'll accommodate whatever the requests are of the collectors. Good question.
Yeah, you only get 2 cans these days, so.
Just like,
Right.
You need- Yeah. Any other questions, Steve? Any other questions? Okay, members of the public, any questions of either witness? Seeing none, hearing none, close the public portion.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you.
So our second of 2 witnesses, our project planner, Paul Ricky. Paul will be presenting with a new document tonight that will mark once he brings it up. We also have handouts to make it easier. So this is multi-pages. Maybe it's easier if we just pass out handouts.
If you like.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's also, I could put it up. Did he put it up? Yeah, put it up.
Thank you.
Sure.
Extra's good.
Yeah, we never complain about that.
That's just.
I got one.
Oh, can we get another? If you
Oh,
have
no,
We need
extras,
more here, please, sir.
we'll take 2. Thank you.
You have enough, Paul?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This house is cute. These are all, this was a big field in West Park.
Should I sit by you, Larry? You want to come up if you want? I don't mind.
All years, about 15 years ago.
Update, you're ready. Do you swear to God or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Great. Name and address, business address is fine for the record.
Name is Paul Ricky, RICCI, 177 Monmouth Avenue, Atlantic Highlands, New Jersey.
Well, I know you've been here a number of times in recent months before this board and the planning board applications as a qualified professional planner, but briefly for the record, your background credentials and confirm your license is current and in good standing.
Yes, I'm a licensed professional planner. I've been licensed since 2000. My license is in good standing. You remind me I have to hand in my new license information. I'm also a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners since 1999. I have a master's degree in city and regional planning from Rutgers University, which I received in 1997. I'm currently a board consultant in 6 towns, town consultant. I testified before this board, approximately 250 boards throughout the state, several courts in the matter, so always qualified.
We'll accept him as an expert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Paul, before we start, just to confirm a few things for the record. You investigated the property, you visited the site and the surrounding area, is that right?
That's correct.
You're familiar with the underlying code that applies, particularly RA15 zoning district and the township master plan relevant provisions, is that right?
I am.
You're familiar with the development plans that are on file in connection with this project, both the survey, the quasi-site plan, as well as the architectural drawings, is that right?
Yes,
As well as the intent of the applicant as known to you from the applicant directly, is that right?
correct.
And you had a chance to put together an exhibit deck. It's a 3 pages?
3 pages.
3-page exhibit deck. Steve, would you mind if we mark this collectively as A1?
That's fine. It's a 3-page compendium. You know, I like to use that word compendium.
I can't even spell that word.
That's why he does it.
I'm going to spell check in the resolution.
Oh, compendium? Oh, it's a real word, yeah. I think the plural is compendium, but don't
So
check
close.
me on that one.
No, it's all right. Yeah, all right.
I'm joking.
So, thank you. So this 3-page deck, prepared by Ricky Planning, it is dated April 2024. It's 3 colored pages, and Paul will walk you through that. Paul, so what I'll do now is I'll turn it over to you to describe the project as you see it, as well as the relief, the justifications for that relief.
Sure. I mean, I can be pretty quick with the exhibit. It's really just to orient the board, just in case you weren't able to get out in front of the property. The exhibit was prepared in a geographic information system, allows me to overlay multiple layers in real world coordinates. The aerial is dated 2020. That's the most recent aerial that's available for this type of data. And the lot line base was provided by Morris County GIS as well as the zoning layer. You can see on the map, the subject property is outlined in orange. You can see the zone line in red separating the RA15 versus your RA35 district. You know, your RA15, we know, allows single-family homes on 15,000 square foot lots. Here, the subject property is 2.66 times larger than the minimum lot size for the district. I thought also, rather than going into a bunch of statistics for the area, you can see based on the lot base that, you know, this is an oversized lot and that the platting pattern for the area is more consistent or closer to that 15,000 square foot minimum. You can also see, I want you to recognize that north is shifted to the left on this exhibit. And I just have eight photographs. Most of them are of the subject property and a couple photographs just to kind of fill out the pages. View 1 is from the Shadyside Street frontage. Clearly no changes being proposed on this side of the property. Picture number 2 is, you know, we're going around the bend now on Terrace Avenue, and this is the side view of the existing single-family residence where no changes are proposed. And then here, we're going further uphill on Terrence Avenue, and there's a picture that shows the existing driveway. And I'll show you, if you look at picture 4, it's kind of almost like a panoramic type feel between pictures 3 and 4, where you can see that existing driveway in place that ultimately leads to picture number 4, where the proposed accessory dwelling unit, which I'm referring to it as, is proposed. So the architectural elevations from the architect, from this frontage, there's no substantial change to the mass of the building. He talked about how there'll be a change to the garage door there. That will become more of a residential look and feel on the front of the building. And then picture number 5 is just another picture just going further up Terrence Avenue, so you can start to see how in the back of the building it's taller from the rear as it slopes away, and you can see throughout some of the pictures some of the old style colonial fencing that surrounding the property. Picture number 6, I just took it. This is a picture that's taken from Shady Side Street, and you're looking towards Terrace Avenue. It shows you how the road wraps around on the corner lot, and it shows the expansiveness of the property. And then we had a couple pictures to fill in the remaining portion of the exhibit. So we have a couple pictures of homes in the area. Picture number 8 is the closest home across the street from where the detached garage is. So there was a garage to garage situation. Now you have more of a residential frontage building that would be facing upon the side view of a 3-car garage on another corner lot. From a planning standpoint, we are seeking the D1 use variance, and now it appears a C1 hardship variance for a lawfully existing, pre-existing condition that's legal, that's not being exacerbated as part of this application. Hypothetically speaking, if the board were to deny this application, that structure, as Mr. Calorie said, could remain in place, not in its current form, but its current height as exists today. So we believe under the C1 hardship provisions that the applicant is entitled to that height variance because it is a lawfully pre-existing building. I do believe as a planner that it is the intent of the law to allow use variances sparingly and only with special exceptional conditions. I believe this is an application that clearly falls under that realm. I believe that this application, and I'll go through it in more detail, results in sound land use planning. Part of our argument you've already heard from Mr. Calley is that, and you can see on the exhibit, that this is an oversized lot that could be subdivided by right and have 2 single-family lots, and then a remainder. Under this proposal, there'll be really no change to the character of the area, but I think that's part of the benefit to the neighborhood here. As the board likely recognizes, anytime you do create a new lot, there is utility associated with that lot down the line, that there could be changes to the property. Here, I think this gives the town more control as well, as it would regulate the property more as a homestead lot. We're really talking about an imaginary line on a piece of paper, though, from a land use perspective, because a person driving by will not recognize the difference. What they will recognize is whether there's too much development there, whether the homes are too close together or they're not, and things of that nature. And this is a really trendy, I don't want to say trendy, it's a wrong word. I want to just pull that statement back. In current times today, we're seeing an evolution in how accessory dwelling units are being considered. And just hear me out, please, on this issue. Currently, the Murphy administration, the governor, in his February budget address, and I'm going to read this from my notes, he proposed a $10 million program to spur both market rate and affordable, they say ADUs, accessory dwelling units, by giving up to $1 million to at least 10 towns, which would then pass out $100,000 in forgivable capital loans to homeowners looking to build new structures or rehabilitate their homes to create more deed-restricted housing. So the state is partially funding this program to help create workforce housing, more affordable housing. And part of my research also suggested, and I've testified in Princeton, that towns are changing their zoning laws today. Some people might have read some articles over the paper over the last week or so about some of these towns. By way of example, approximately 12 towns already have regulations in place that allow accessory dwelling units to occur by right in their towns. And some of those towns include Princeton, Maplewood. I testified in Princeton because the single-family homeowner was located in a commercial zone, so the ordinance didn't apply to him. But otherwise, it's a by right for single-family homeowners in Princeton. Maplewood, Montclair, East Orange, South Orange, Bradley Beach, Newark, and Jersey City. I believe that Asbury Park and Passaic are working on such regulations. And I think it's also important to recognize that the Senate, as part of Bill 2347, that was, I guess it's introduced, is the bill introduced? Is that the right vernacular? Introduced in January 2024, that would make accessory dwelling units legal as an additional unit where single-family homes are permitted. I think it goes on to say single and two-family homes in that bill. And as part of that bill, the way it's proposed, and I have a copy of it, I can give that as an exhibit tonight. Any density requirement that a town has in place, that wouldn't be in effect. And the bill goes as so far as not to have restrictions for that there be tied to a family member or the like. It has restrictions on maximum of one parking space. So the state recognizes that there's a great need for housing, workforce housing, and affordable housing. And I think we all recognize this. This is a highly intelligent board. But just another figure, according to the New Jersey Association of Realtors, the median price of a home sold in the state ballooned from $332,500 of January 2020, right before COVID, to $515,000 less than 4 years later. So as a percentage, that's a tremendous increase. And I think the state and other states are looking for ways, without drastically changing characters of community, to provide opportunities to integrate new housing. And here, this is an application where it's for a family member involved, and they've agreed to allow this to be associated with the family. I think there are a lot of benefits associated from a planning perspective of these units. Clearly, it creates a more affordable housing option. It also has the benefit of being able to provide housing quickly. There's a housing shortfall. So if these structures are in place, those housing units can be created more quickly. I think they're also an efficient use of the existing structures that are in place. So it's a more sustainable approach to development. And I think there's a lot of social benefits that are associated with these units as well as here. Now you can see the applicant is expecting. You have grandparents involved, and you have the ability to have those family interactions, more the way that I think we historically lived as a civilization, with the exception of the last 50 to 75 years. So I think there's a social interaction, well-being aspect of this as well. And I think as a planner as well, as I was portioned to say, that this is a responsible way of providing infill development without the need to, essentially disturb green fields, farms, and other type activities, allow urban expansion and the like. It's the easiest way to integrate development into communities without substantially changing the state as a whole. I did look at your master plan, your 2017 master plan reexamination. It was silent on this issue, but it does say on page 45, changes in housing preferences. And this is kind of a long paragraph. I'm not sure if you want me to read the entire paragraph. Do you? Is that okay?
No, go for it.
Okay. This is on page 45. Changes in housing preference. In recent years, housing preference among two large demographic groups, the baby boomers, in parentheses, those born between 1946 and 1964, end parentheses, and the millennial generation, parentheses, born between 1977 and 1994, end parentheses, has trended away from traditional large lot single-family housing. Proximity to public transportation, such as bus, subway, light rail, or commuter rail, has also become attractive to potential homebuyers and renters, as more communal characteristics like sidewalks and being within an easy walk or drive of shopping and other services. In that regard, a variety of housing types are also being built as part of new mixed-use developments. Recent development applications in the Morris Township reflect the above trends, as the reuse of the former Honeywell corporate headquarters and the planned redevelopment of the former Colgate-Palmolive manufacturing facility involve a mix of residential and non-residential uses. And it goes on to say, this is what I wanted you to hear, although the planning board anticipates that the township will remain a predominantly single-family detached home community, it must still be cognizant of those changing housing preferences. As such, it should look for opportunities to promote diversity in the township's housing stock where appropriate. I think this application does advance that objective of the master plan. And for these reasons, I believe this application is particularly well suited for the use, so it promotes, or it meets purpose A of the municipal land use law, promotes the general welfare. I also believe this application promotes purpose E, to promote the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentrations that will contribute to the well-being of persons, neighborhoods, communities, and regions, and preservation of the environment. Here, again, we're under the anticipated density for this area of the township, and to provide a sufficient space for residential use to meet the needs of New Jersey citizens, purpose G. Regarding the negative criteria, I believe that the variances can be granted without a substantial detriment to the public good and zone plan. A lot of this has already been part of my direct testimony, that this is an oversized lot. You know, we're seeking a C1 variance for an existing 18-foot 1-inch condition, where if this lot was subdivided, a 35-foot home that's larger could be built there. So this application, I believe, promotes the public good and retaining the existing character and scale of the neighborhood. I think, and so regarding the intent and purpose of your zone plan, again, this is not a substantial departure for those reasons I just mentioned. And regarding the Medici reconciliation, that requires us to reconcile the omission of this use from your municipal master plan. First, like, this use is anticipated in this district, just not in the form on one lot. And we indicated how, again, not to be repetitive, the lot could be subdivided, and we're not asking for more homes than are anticipated here already by ordinance. And I believe that some of the information I provided was part of my Medici reconciliation argument, that I believe there are changed circumstances since your 2017 master plan was adopted. While your master plan still recognized that there may be a need for the township to shift its housing rules and regulations, it was, I think, well advanced in that regard. Since then, there has become a tremendous need for housing, and one that the legislators even currently began, or what's the word, introduced the bill for specifically what this application or what this applicant is requested here. So I think it's clear that there are changed circumstances here, and that this is an application that meets all three prongs of the variance relief. I'm sorry, I can't seem to get the words out today. That's my direct testimony.
Thank you, Paul.
Mr. Chairman. Okay. Board members, any questions? Yes.
I recognize, because I listened to the same address. But maybe I'm not up to date on things. The state saw the need to protect drinking water, so created an overlay zone across multiple jurisdictions, many jurisdictions. I may be using the wrong legal term, but they created the Skylands Bill.
Right.
And imposed new zoning regulations.
Yeah.
Is there any of that happening here? Is it started? Is it even a proposal yet?
Yes, it's proposed, and I can introduce this and under
We could reference it for the record. It's part of the document.
Senate number 2347 that was introduced in January of this year, that would essentially, I mean, the state gives you right power to zone, and this would essentially write into the municipal land use law, however the state seems fit, that it would allow for an accessory dwelling unit in all zones that allow for single family and two family two-family dwellings. The provisions in here today that are proposed is that the municipality could require setback requirements like similar that you have today, and we meet those setback requirements. It limits, just say you had a two-car detached garage that had 2 parking spaces. Under this bill, if someone were to convert that into an accessory dwelling unit, the state would not take away those as required parking spaces. They under the state's rules. And they also say a familial, marital, or employment relationship between occupants of a principal dwelling unit and the accessory dwelling unit. You cannot require that. But it does have provisions in there that you can't have provisions that prohibit like short-term rentals, things of that nature. You can require that at least one of the units is owned, it's owner occupied, but it says you can't dictate which one, but one of them you can require is owner occupied as part of this. So it's not just two rentals. So, I mean, I'll leave this here if anyone wants to read it, but yeah.
But to follow on for my question then, I'm legislative lead for an organization, or I'm one of the legislative
Okay.
leads. Is there any semblance of this happening in the assembly? There's lots of bills that get filed and never anything happens.
Well, I can't answer that. I've testified on electric
Okay.
vehicles when the bill was introduced, and people ask me the same question, and I'm just not that advanced at the state level. to
Paul, just
answer
to
that.
be clear, you're not relying for support on the variance because of this. This happens to be coincidental and the timing of it warrants discussion, right?
I think it warrants discussion, and
Counselor,
it
you
shows
answered
to
my
the need.
question.
Yes.
I asked the question because I'm curious, and I was not aware of that bill, so maybe that is gonna be the law at some point. That's why I asked the question.
Okay.
And just another throwaway, and it's not a shot by any means. You mentioned affordable housing and the affordable housing, well, you didn't mention the affordable housing requirements that are levied upon Morris Township. Is there any way that this can count to the township's credit?
No.
I don't think so, but.
Okay,
It would have to be it would have to be deed restricted to an affordable unit. It would have to be affirmatively marketed.
Okay.
It would have to go through.
I'm just an idle question.
It's a good
That's a
question.
good selling point.
No,
Okay.
it's a good question, but it's as of now
Okay.
a little
Thank
more
you.
complicated.
And
Yeah.
among other things, the familial obligation, the tie-in, would have to be lifted as
Yes.
well in order for it to potentially qualify as an affordable housing unit, or maybe even more than one credit for the township.
Yeah, sorry, can I just ask?
Sure.
Okay, so Paul, I just wanted, because the legislation hasn't been adopted and the zoning here hasn't been changed, is it your testimony, though, that this site, given its size, given its location, orientation on two streets, is particularly suited to having an accessory dwelling unit?
It is for those reasons, and the reasons I mentioned. The secondary were just bolstering my arguments for the case.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any questions over there? Mr. Hanson?
Dave?
No.
Yes.
If no other board members have any, just had a couple of quick ones. One, picture number 8 on page 3. Please confirm that's block 2809, lot 11, correct? Okay.
Right.
And
picture number 7 is 28028.
is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I know we clarified this already, but the legislation is just legislation that was introduced in one of the two chambers of the State House, correct?
Correct.
And with respect to the second prong of the negative criteria, there was never a request for a rezoning by the governing body, correct? For this lot.
Right.
And it's your opinion as a professional planner that the second prong of the negative criteria, no substantial impairment of the zone plan, which is the master plan of the zoning ordinance. This application does not substantially impair with that and does not constitute, would not constitute a usurpation of the, see what spell check says on usurpation. It'll work. The usurpation of the governing body's right to zone.
I do not believe it would. Here, again, the lot size is 2.6 times greater than required. You know, the applicant has not chosen to file a subdivision application, but they could
Right. as
develop
right.
2 lots by right here. I gave some rationale how I thought that would help retain, by not subdividing, that would help retain the existing character of the area here. As a board planner as well, I think one of the items that I hear the most concern about is change, right? So by not changing, at least now, I think that's good for the neighborhood.
Just out of curiosity, if you did this investigation, if a subdivision line were drawn, is there a way in which a subdivision line were drawn and the accessory structure, if it became, in essence, a principal structure on the new lot?
Yes.
Would it comport with all the bulk regulations for that particular lot? Can it be done in such a way?
Yes. It can.
Setbacks and
Can
coverage?
meet every
and-
setback.
Right.
The only thing that would occur is that the pool would have to come with this lot or be removed.
Right.
Got it. Okay. I think that might be relevant and may actually be helpful. So to the applicants, thank you. Nothing further.
Okay. Any other board members with questions? Any members of the public with any questions of this witness? Seeing none, hearing none, close the public portion. Mr. Kelly. Oh, yeah. Any members of the public want to comment on this application? If so, come up to the microphone. Yes. That microphone turned on,
You
Dave?
gotta turn it on.
And we'll get your name, when it's on, we'll get your name and address and I'll swear you in.
There you go. Hi, my name is Pam Elliott. I live at 22 Spencer Drive in Morristown.
I'm sorry, what was the address?
22
22
Drive.
Spencer? Okay, thank you. And please raise your right hand. You swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Can you spell your last name, please?
ELLIOTT.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Thanks for asking. 2 T's. I am the next door neighbor, and I don't know, I don't need a picture of the house, but our house abuts with the proposed dwelling, and we don't have a problem with it. It's, I just guess I wanted to go on the record saying that I think that it is exactly what the planner was saying. There's kind of no real change other than the building will change a little.
Would your, if you know, would your block and lot be 2807 lot 10?
Yes. That's the one on the corner of Spencer and Terrace.
Right,
Correct.
going down the hill.
Yeah.
Right. Spencer slopes down and
Yeah, but I mean, it's if you're looking at the picture, it's the one, there's their property, our property, Spencer.
sure.
If I may, with the chair's permission, what portion of your, I could see the portion of your dwelling that's nearest, I guess, to the carriage house that we're referring to, the applicant's referring to. But it's a little fuzzy, frankly. What rooms of your home are closest? Are they bedrooms?
The entire back side of our house faces onto the applicant's property.
Right.
So from the corner of the house, like on the first floor, which is the laundry room, kitchen, family room, whatever, everything is looking right at,
The back, yeah.
right, so we're.
Gotcha.
This whole side.
You have solar panels on the roof?
We do, that's.
Got it. That's what was throwing me a little bit. It's on the aerial, it's blue. I wanted to make sure, I couldn't tell if it was a tennis court, a pool, or the roof with solar panels. Thank you.
And so the one question I guess I have is when you're talking about the height and the 18 feet or whatever, is that the height of the The roof line?
Well,
That's what it is now.
And that's what you're saying is going to remain? That would, I mean, that would be the only thing. If it, became some ridiculous thing, that might be something to consider, but where it is now, I'm the last person to raise an issue.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to comment? Close the public portion. Mr. Kelly.
Well, thank you again for your time tonight, Mr. Chairman and members. It's a relatively straightforward, simple application. We appreciate the staff working with us to go through TCC and completeness and to get here this evening. As always, it's a great help, and the applicant is very eager to get this application before the board and hopefully approved for relatively simple and straightforward use, notwithstanding the fact that it technically requires fee relief. We think it's appreciable. We think the proofs are met. And with that, Mr. Chairman and members, we put it in your hands to consider.
Is there also a pool equipment setback deviation required?
Well, so that's kind of like the height, I guess, Steve, would be that's an existing condition. That's been there, that was permitted. It's about a foot up the property line. So to the extent the approval, if the board votes to approve, absorbs the current survey into it by way of reference, I mean, it's effectively approving those conditions. But yes, the pool equipment is pretty much on the lot line. I believe it's about a foot off, give or take, at any given point. Those are conditions that are there in the field today. And those
It's
are conditions that
pre-existing
will
again,
remain.
or
Yeah,
existing at least. Isn't it?
existing.
Is it 5 foot,
No, it's
Dave?
in the building envelope now.
But I mean, what's the
It has to be
required?
In the building envelope.
Now it would have to be in the building envelope.
Pool filters, pool heaters are considered part of the pool and they have to be located in the envelope created by the setbacks.
Oh, okay. And how far out is this one?
Quite a bit. 25 feet on the rear yard, which is the left side of the proposed garage or apartment. And 20 feet off what would be the easterly property line.
Okay. And is the applicant asking for cleanup variance relief on this one
We
as
ask for the
well?
board to recognize those existing conditions and allow them to continue, yes.
And under the same opinions that the planner, Mr. Ricky gave to, with respect to the undue hardship on the height of the accessory structure? Or is it different or additional?
I believe on the same basis, but I'll defer to my expert, is here, Paul, on the same basis?
Yes, I'm just trying to locate it here. I don't see it.
It's in the southeasterly corner.
Upper left.
Okay, mine's different than Mr. Callie's. Yes, we would be seeking for any pre-existing conditions. I'm assuming they're lawful pre-existing conditions under the C1 hardship provisions.
Then, Mr. Chairman, if we're remain closed, the applicant is requesting a D1 use variance to convert an existing detached garage or carriage house on a single-family lot into an in-law suite, along with 2 bulk variances, one for an accessory structure height existing of 18.1 feet, or 18 feet 1 inch, versus 15-foot maximum permitted, and pool equipment setbacks outside of the building envelope, by way of the dimensions mentioned by Mr. Hanson. And if the board, for that relief, since there's D variance relief at issue, granting that relief would require the affirmative vote of at least 5 of the 7 board members qualified to vote this evening. If that relief is going to be granted, I will assume it's with all the conditions stipulated to by or on behalf of the applicant, including but not limited those set forth in the planner's memo, in the environmental commission, the utility authorities memo, as well as what I have, which is that all building codes and fire code requirements, of course, would be met. The sewer would be, approval would be obtained from the township, if not already obtained. The use of the carriage house as a dwelling unit would be deed restricted, either by way of recordation with the county clerk's office of the resolution in its entirety, or a deed restriction, which is essentially is a deed to the whereby the owner grants the deed to themselves and records it with the county clerk's office. And that deed restriction would include the requirement that the occupants of the carriage house would have a familial relationship with the owner and or occupant of the principal structure, the single-family dwelling, as well as that there would be a requirement of no further subdivision or other diminution in the size of the lot, the subject lot.
Under this scenario, just to be clear, Steve,
On-
we know
as-
that,
For the life of this
Carriage house.
deed restriction, as for the life of this carriage house being permitted as a separate dwelling unit. And there would be no light spillage, not that any would be expected from a sconce light or two on the dwelling. And I believe that's all I had by way of additional conditions.
Would it be your preference to have the resolution recorded or have a deed restriction recorded?
Frankly, I think it could be left to the applicant, although I would say 99% of the time the applicant chooses a deed restriction. And given the fact that the resolution is going to have so much other language in it, I happen to believe that a deed restriction with the appropriate conditions is clearer and better.
I think it's much
So,
better that way, yeah. That'd probably be the chosen route.
So we could eliminate the recordation of the entire resolution and just leave the deed restriction. Again, all those conditions only come into play if it's a grant of the approval. And that only comes into play if there is at least 5 affirmative votes for the application.
Anything else? No? Mr. Hanson, any final comments? None? Okay.
I had a question for Mr. Hanson. Under our codes, how do we define short-term rental? What is that?
We don't have a definition for short term, but if you go by what's typically used in other municipalities, short term is less than 6 months.
Okay. Because my thought here too is to add into the language that no short-term rental would be, because even if you have, let's say, a family member who's dwelling there, they can Airbnb out their place if they want. So just as an extra provision that there's no short-term rental allowed.
I guess you could say less than 6 months.
So, with the applicant stipulated condition of approval, in addition to the fact that it would have to be a familial relationship, that there cannot be any short-term rentals as defined as 6 months or less than 6 months. Less than 6 months.
That's fine. I don't see how that would even come into play, but if it gets the board's comfort level up, we're fine with that.
Yeah.
I think it's more like 30 days.
30 days.
For short term?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what's the applicant stipulation and we're talking belt and suspender? So
30 days is.
how tight's the belt going to be?
Short-term rentals is a 30-day or less rental, is short-term. I couldn't
Okay.
see a scenario where this would happen, but that's fine by us.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll add that as an additional condition for consideration by the board in determining whether they'll grant the relief requested, no less than 30-day occupants rental.
No list, yeah. Okay, any other? Yes.
Given the information provided about the state legislation, if something like that passes, would the deed restriction be able to be removed?
Well,
That's a good, that's a good question.
Pending the outcome of the final, bill, if something like
Well,
that
this,
does pass.
interesting, because this relief is being granted, it's somewhat akin to a time of application rule, but it's going in favor of the applicant at that point. It's an interesting, Jai Sai Ram, Jai, spell check may not get that one right, it's a name. Jaisaram. It's a case, but in that context, what happens is if an ordinance, municipal ordinance, not state law, municipal ordinance changes to the benefit of an applicant while an application is pending, they're allowed to avail themselves of that beneficial ordinance. It's a little different. We're talking about after an application is potentially granted in this hypothetical. Would a state law change impact that? At that point, the state law, what do you think, applicants,
I
counsel?
think the state law would probably.
Yeah, it would govern?
supersede. I think
I
it
would
would.
think so,
But
too.
you know, at a snapshot in time, we don't know if that's gonna pass. And again, tonight it
Yeah.
was for conjecture that this happens
Mm.
to be the trend.
Sure.
The applicant is fine with that
With the
condition.
condition.
In fact, the applicant proactively offered it. We talked about it at TCC. We brought it up tonight. So the applicant linking the two structures' uses through a familial relationship is one that the applicant is all for. If state law eventually changes that, it probably wipes out this condition's applicability and enforceability.
Right.
Probably.
But that wouldn't happen until somebody sells the property.
That's true too.
It'd have to be picked up in a title search. Yeah.
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 And that's when it would be
Right.
brought up.
I
And
just didn't know if we had to put something else in there
no,
based
no,
on that
no,
right
no.
now.
no, we wouldn't have.
We
That
let
would be so-
nature and the law take its course.
Good. Thank you.
Well said.
Can someone tell me why we have to have in-law suite?
Like the family
Yeah,
restriction.
because what I'm thinking is, how do we actually prove it? 2 years from now, how do we actually prove it? It's recorded, it's deed restricted. How do we prove that?
Well,
Is that, are we walking a thin line on saying, hey, I don't appreciate it. I don't appreciate
Well,
it. Tell me if it's legal or not.
But what would basically come down to is a neighbor complaining that there's 14 college kids living in this little place or whatever, and that's when it would be enforced. But if it was, a single middle-aged woman living there, it probably would never raise a complaint.
And that's what I'm saying. Why would we even need it in there? If I can see this being a problem.
Well, if it helps, the applicant has offered it as a condition of approval. I suspect the applicant offered that because the use is not permitted. 2 single-family dwellings on one residential dwelling lot is not permitted. So it's not uncommon to have some sort of either durational or a relationship, familial relationship type condition, not required. Board can look at it as a good thing, a bad thing, or, equipoise, neither. But it was offered by the applicant to do it that way. And enforcement, for good or bad, enforcement's the most difficult aspect, in my opinion, in land use law. But we cannot use enforcement or the difficulty in enforcing conditions as a reason to grant or deny. Technically, we have to assume that our township will be able to enforce not only the regulations of the township, but also any conditions of approval. And often it is neighbors who let the township know.
Yeah. We don't
But-
have a good track record. Neighbors letting the township know.
Oh, you'd be surprised. At least once or twice a month, I get complaints about people living in rental houses. And it's not hard to get in touch with the owner, get the lease agreement, find out who's supposed to be in the house, and then watch the house. It's not hard.
But this is all in the context of deliberations for the board. So,
Well, my thoughts on this application is that with the size of this lot being 2.6 times the required minimum lot size, this applicant could come in and easily subdivide this without any problems. And instead, the applicant is looking to help out his family and continue so that proposing it as with the family restriction, it really does provide the social benefit. And accessory dwelling units seem to be something that is a hot topic right now in the legislature and elsewhere, with several towns adopting ordinances to that effect. My hesitation would be, are we usurping the planning board in creating a zoning issue as to what the requirements would be? But in this situation with the lot size, I think we can overcome that easily because it could easily be subdivided. So I would be in favor of this application, but I'm open to hear what everybody else has to say. Yes.
Just want to remind the board that we denied, I don't know, an ADU near ShopRite within the last year.
Right.
And over an existing over the garage apartment. So doesn't anybody else remember this?
No.
No.
Yeah, it was a developer, right? The developer came before us,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it was an
Develop-
already existing apartment where their son had been living.
Oh, they wanted to expand that.
They wanted to expand it, and they were only a couple feet off the property line.
They wanted to expand that. That's a whole different.
I'm not saying that it's the same situation. Just be mindful that we had something that in some ways resembles this,
Right. But they,
and we denied.
right, but they wanted to,
I know.
they wanted to expand it.
And it was going to be commercial. I
Yeah.
understand.
So there's no comparison.
Right.
Yeah, it's apples and oranges,
Yeah.
I think.
I think so too.
I'm not saying that it completely applies. I just, when you talk about usurping and
We've also had, I can remember the applicant that came for us with the carriage house who wanted to put the playroom type of thing upstairs. And
Springbrook
we
area.
said, no plumbing, because we didn't want it to become an apartment situation.
Right.
One, they didn't come before us asking for the apartment situation, so we didn't hear testimony to that effect. Here, we've heard testimony. We're on a lot that can easily be subdivided
Absolutely.
into without the building taken down. So again, we are seeing these types of applications, but our job is to judge it on the merits of each individual application. So I don't think by judging this application favorably, we'd be setting some type of negative precedent where we're building mini apartments over garages throughout the township, because we have to judge it again on the merits of the individual case.
just being devil's advocate here, reminding us.
Yep.
Any other board members with comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Anybody?
Motion to approve this application with the stipulations already discussed.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Ms. Santiago?
Mr. Goldberg,
Yes.
Ms. Rothman,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Trachtenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Woodford.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, folks.
Okay.
Thanks again, everybody. We appreciate your time, as always.
5-minute break. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break and then continue. Okay, we're, Board of Adjustment meeting is back in session. Ms. Santiago, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Goldberg,
Yes, here.
Ms. Rothman,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Here.
Mr. Schuster,
Here.
Mr. Trachtenberg,
Here.
Mr. Kramer.
Here.
Ms. Simmons. Here. Mr. Woodford,
Here.
Mr. Warner,
Here.
Ms. Laney. Here. Mr. Hanson,
Here.
and I, Sonia Santiago, here.
Okay, next application is BA-2523, 1 Paul Way LLC. Ms. Santiago.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is BA-2523, 1 Paul Away LLC, Block 7003, Lot 17, 467 South Street in the OL 40 Zone, Section D. Applicant proposes to reuse the existing building for animal daycare, training, and boarding. Applicant will also relocate existing sign, creating a front yard setback of 20 feet where 150 feet is required, and a side yard setback of 75 feet where 175 feet is required.
Yeah, counsel, your appearance.
Yes, good evening, Board. Jack Spinella from the Spinella Law Group, representing the applicant.
And who do you plan to have as witnesses tonight?
My main witness will be Michael Tobia, professional planner.
Is that your only witness?
If the board requires any additional testimony from my clients, the applicants, I also have my architect here,
All right.
if that's required.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, with your permission,
Yes.
I did review the notice, found the content to be sufficient, found it to be timely served, certified mail on April 16, published on April 18, both at least 10 days prior to this evening. So the board does have jurisdiction to hear and decide the application tonight.
Okay. You may proceed.
Thank you very much. The application is for a use variance and an application to move an existing sign out of the right-of-way. The prior use was a veterinary and surgical center, and the current use proposed is a doggy daycare center. Approximately 30 dogs a day, which are both dropped off and picked up at various locations. The site will have dog runs, and there will be some overnight dog care. The applicant owns the property. They purchased it in February of 2023 for $626,000. There's going to be some renovations. It was Dr. Nelson was the previous veterinarian. I'm sure many of you may be familiar if you're from this area. They're proposing to renovate the site for full siding replacement, window replacement, fence replacement with a 6-foot-high vinyl fence, turf installation, pool repair, and a new pool cover, resurfacing of the parking lot with additional gravel, designation of an ADA parking stall, landscaping, cleanup, pruning, as well as turf installation. Again, the applicant further proposed to relocate the existing freestanding sign to a new location out of the public right-of-way. The existing sign that's been there for many years will be reused with a new sign panel measuring 44 inches wide and 30 inches high. The cost of the improvements are estimated to be at $400,000. There are not going to be any changes to the footprint of the structures. The size, shape, and location of the building are going to be the same, and no changes to the size, shape, or location of the property are proposed, and no shed is proposed.
Okay. You call your first witness.
Mr. Tobia?
And as I'm swearing in Mr. Tobia, I will also swear in our board professionals, Mr. Hanson and Ms. Laney. Do all three of you swear to God or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Hey, Mr. Tobia.
So Michael Tobia, Tobia, the applicant's planning consultant, office 92 Overlook Road, Morris Township. And Mr. Chairman, you want qualifications or are we okay?
I think we can stipulate your qualifications unless there's been any change since the last time you were here.
The only change is I have come to love dogs even more now than I did a month ago when I started on this case 2 months ago. So, okay. And licenses now renewed. You have to get your licenses renewed, Liz, and you did too? Okay. Yeah, we just had to do that, so.
Okay.
So I thought I'd walk you through the site with some photography. This is a PowerPoint prepared by me, photos dated April 9th, 16 sheets in the handout. Mr. Warner, I gave this to Sonia as Exhibit A1
Yep, we can
with
keep it
today's
that
date
way.
on it.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. As you heard, 467 South Street is our site. If you went out the driveway here at this building and went to South Street,
made a left, you're down about a half mile on the right-hand side, right across from Lewanika Reservation. I've been going to Lewanika for 34 years, and there was a vet's office over there, I believe, all that time, and probably before that. Dr. Nelson and his wife were the proprietors. They lived on the property too, I understand. On the right side, you'll see this all in a moment, with dog activities throughout the building and on the property. Okay, so good. Slide 2 is an aerial photo, a regional aerial photo that I thought I would give you. Running north to south through the exhibit is South Street, with the center of Morristown being at the top of the screen and proceeding south down past the site. I've circled the site to show you where it is. An important takeaway of this property overall is this is an isolated site in the context of area residences. Across the street is Lewanika Reservation, fantastic open space asset for all of us. Runs from here many miles eastward toward Chatham. Above us is Seton Hackney, I think it's called, right? The stables. I hike a lot, I bike a lot. I've never been on a horse, but that's another nice open space parcel right across the street from us. In about 1980 and proceeding through the 1980s, to the west of the site was the Southgate Parkway office complex. 4 buildings in there, some of the biggest buildings in town. Many of you might have gotten your COVID shots in there at one of the Atlantic Health buildings. That's our neighbor to the rear. It's an important neighbor because it's entirely commercial, and we have no residences, therefore, behind us, in front of us, or to the north of us. As you look at this exhibit to the south, our single-family development begins at least 600 feet from the property on a street called Blackberry Lane. Nearest house 600 feet away, most of them 700 or more feet away. We zoom in on the property here on slide 2, put a big square around the site this time to show you at the zoomed level parking lot to the east of us at Lewanika Reservation and a ball field. Those are the 2 closest land uses on that side of the street. And behind us is 465 Southgate Parkway, big office building right behind us and an associated parking lot. Okay, the house and property shown on slide 4. 2 things happened here, at least 2 things. One, a pre-war home built 2 stories, gable gambrel roof on the right-hand side. At some point, a long addition was put on the property and added to the building. Dr. Nelson lived here. His family lived here. They had a pool in the backyard. They also ran a veterinarian service, a surgical center, and a boarding use. An important takeaway of the case is our applicants. You didn't introduce our applicants? This is Jamie. This is Clay. Partners in more than just business, right? Did we just get married?
We did.
Okay, so that's not a special reason, but they not all my applicants have just gotten married, but anyway.
It's a hardship.
Also, wait, so.
Let
it's not a
the
special
record
reason,
reflect
but-
that was a joke. Hopefully.
That's our chairman. So anyway, they are our clients. They've been in business for 10 years now. They have a facility in Randolph, one in Succasauna. They have a drop shop over on Speedwell in Morristown across from CVS. And as Jack said before, they're into the building for $600,000, $626,000 on the purchase price. We're going to go through what they're going to do with improvements in a moment. What happened here historically appeals to them very much because it's 2 things. 1, residential character, and 2, a well-established facility for doggy daycare and dog boarding. Slide 5. Over on the front side or the southerly side of the building has been and will remain the entrance and reception area to the building. Slide 6 shows the original house. Dog activities will be located throughout the house. It will no longer be a residential property. Okay. So we're going to have dogs sleeping, playing, being groomed, and having daycare throughout the building. I'll go through operations with you in a moment. Moving around to the right side or northerly side of the house, slide 7. The building, for all its charm and appeal to many dog lovers over the years, has become a bit neglected. Siding's falling down, there are broken windows. Jamie's dad has already done an extensive amount of landscaping improvements, tree removal, shrub removal, and so on the outside. Back of the house shows the pool. This is slide 8 in the lower right. Pool's been out of operation for so long, we probably have 6 inches of grass growing on top of the pool cover. Okay, never seen that before. In the back, though, there's also a deck. Importantly, and speaking to particular suitability, the entire property in the back is fenced. So we have a really secure area for dogs to be outside and entertain themselves and each other. And here is that backyard in slide 9. It's basically a 200-foot square property. So we have a lot of room for dogs, yard area well established in the back, lawn area well established. And as we move to slide 10, we have a parking lot. This is on the south side of the building. The applicant intends to top dress it with gravel, add an ADA parking stall for the first time, and in general, improve the whole property. And I think I have a better slide to explain this to you. Dog runs have been located at the back of the building all these years. They'll be improved. They will have now vinyl slats between each dog run so that dogs won't sit in opposing dog runs, stare at each other, and bark at each other. Privacy slats, in other words. Everywhere you look on the property, there was a 6-foot-high stockade fence. Everywhere you look, that fence is falling down. So the proposal is full replacement of that fence, 6 foot high still, vinyl. That's a compliant height in the zoning ordinance. That would be another improvement to the property. The pool is going to go from a people pool to a doggy pool. So whereas the Nelson family used it as their personal pool, we're going to fill it in up to probably a depth of 24 inches, would you say?
Yeah, about 24.
24 inches, a wading pool for dogs. And this will be scheduled full use, not a free-for-all, from the hours of 10 to 2 p.m. And importantly, when we were at TCC, the TCC group noticed the sign that exists on the site, now shown in slide 14, is actually in the public right-of-way. We have to move it 14 feet back. That's the proposal, to get it on the private property. The sign that you see here on slide 14 would be reused. All we're doing is we're putting a new panel up that will say "one paw away" with some copy as to phone number and identification of the business. That sign diagram should be in your file. The panel will be identical to what's on the site now with Dr. Nelson's old sign. And we'll go through variances in a minute, but that will be, I think, the only physical change to the property except for the improvements I'll go over again in a minute. So let's go back to slide 4 and just go through what Jack went through very quickly. One of our special reasons, Mr. Warner, will be a vast amount of site improvements, both to the building and the lot, that promote the public good. And they will include a re-siding of the building, full window replacement, door replacement. Everywhere you see a fence, we'll have a new fence put up in the same location as the existing fence. The pool will be repaired, new pool cover will be installed, parking lot will be resurfaced, gravel resurfacing. An ADA parking space will finally be identified on the site. There's a lot of landscaping work that's been done. More will be done to further clean up the site. The sign will be relocated. And importantly, there's no change to the building, no additions, no changes to the parking lot. Footprint doesn't change. Coverage doesn't change in any way. Jamie and Clay are putting about $400,000 of improvement into the property, taking it north of $1 million by the time you add purchase price to improvements that I just described. Okay, so operations. We thought we'd give you a little bit on how the use will operate. And we'll have hours, basically extended business hours, 7 to 6:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekends. Business will be open on Sundays, so 8 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday. Dog clients, I should say, the owners of the dogs, don't spend their whole day at the building, okay? The way it's worked out is they will be permitted to drop off dogs between 7 and 8 a.m. in the morning and pick up 4 to 6:30 in the afternoon. It'll be by appointments on weekends. Interestingly, most dogs are picked up in the parking lot. Employees will walk out with a dog, drop them off in a car, or meet someone just pulling into the parking lot, take the dog, walk them back into the building. This on average takes about 2 minutes per function, whether it's a pickup or drop off. You can walk your dog into the reception area if you want. I understand that's very light in terms of volume compared to the parking lot pickup. There'll be 3 full-time employees, 2 part-timers. 2 of the full-timers are right behind me here, Clay and Jamie. Clay's brother is the other full-timer, and then there are 2 part-timers. So when we distill down how everybody would arrive at the site, we're projecting a peak parking demand for workers of 3 parking stalls. The other 10 will be available to clients coming in, picking up, dropping off. A maximum of 30 dogs a day are anticipated. And deliveries, which basically come down to things like cleaning supplies, trash bags, paper towels, copy paper, and so on, are all going to be the same Amazon trucks that pull up to all our homes. Clients have to bring their own dog food with them. So our clients here aren't even providing dog food for the dogs. One of the things that will set this use apart from everybody else in the doggy daycare business and especially the boarding business is we will have a staffer in the building 24/7. A sleepover babysitter, if you will, dog sitter, okay? Most of the time it's going to be either Clay or Jamie sleeping the overnight shift. Most of the time what they're going to be doing is sleeping. So on the second floor of the house, the right side in slide 4 here, far right front of this house will be a staff bedroom. It's going to have a bed in it. No closet, it's going to have a bed. There's a bathroom down the hall that they'll be able to use. They'll be able to use a break room. And the idea is to provide a level of service no one else is providing, which is constant supervision of the dogs in case they might need an overnight med, they have an accident, or there's an emergency. The way it was explained to me by Jamie and Clay is most of the time the babysitter is going to be sleeping. Okay. But that's part of the business plan, to have someone with the dogs all the time. Most of the other facilities have cameras monitoring the dogs overnight. That's not the plan here. It will be live supervision overnight. There's a break room with a refrigerator, dishwasher, microwave in the kitchen. I explained pool hours to you. The dog runs will be limited and scheduled for particular dogs. Not everybody gets a dog run. There's no overnight use of the dog runs. And although we have this great backyard fully fenced, there's no overnight use of the backyard. So by the time business closes at 6:30 PM, all the dogs are inside for the evening unless they have to be walked to do their business. Speaking of doing their business, the backyard will have a bunch of waste stations where dog waste is collected, will be transferred to 2 trash cans, and a vendor will pick up that waste twice a week. I got to tell you the vendor's name. It's Duty Calls. And Mr. Warner, it's DOODY, Duty. Okay?
Let's see what spell check says about that.
So, but anyway, that's basically the only waste for the whole use other than some light trash, which our clients will be carrying out by themselves at the end of the day. No wall signs proposed. And no, we did have a talk at TCC about a shed being on the property. That's no longer the case. We will not have a shed. Incidentally, on the site plan, there's also a proposed ground location for an AC unit. We've determined that will no longer be necessary either. So we're going to be dealing with through-wall units or rooftop mount units for our AC condensers. So no shed, no ground-mounted air conditioning unit. Let's go and talk variances for a second. I want to go back to our aerial on A2. There are a few things that are easy to justify with this use. One is a more intensive version of this use existed for many years on the property because it included both vet services and surgery. We know Dr. Wilson did overnight boarding as well. We've calculated through photography, he probably had about 40 boarding cages in the building when he was in operation. These folks are only talking 30 dogs max overnight. So we're not doing surgery, we're not doing vet services, and we're doing fewer boarding dogs than Dr. Nelson did for many years. Planners and lawyers are guided in this field about the idea of long-standing uses on a site, long-standing non-conforming uses. The law through our Burbridge case, Supreme Court stuff, 1988, I want to say, Mr. Warner, says when a use has been around for a really long time, people basically get used to it, even if it's a non-permitted use. Okay, that's the case here. The office buildings behind us were built in the 1980s. They've existed as neighbors for 4 decades and more. The homes down on Blackberry, although they're really far away, have also been driving by this building as a vet center and surgery center for decades. We view what's happening here as less intensive than what existed in all those years. And also, the particular suitability test is met because you have a park across the street, office buildings behind us. The only place with more dogs than 1 paw away is going to be Lawanica Reservation, right? And it's probably a synergy there too between this use and people then wanting to go and walk their dogs. So the particular suitability test is met. Liz did a master plan a bunch of years ago here, 2017. Believe it or not, 7 years ago. In that master plan, in so many words on pages 16 and 61, the document says the office market is kaput. Okay, it's struggling, high vacancy rates, especially in these secondary buildings that just have literally no demand for office use anymore. So we've come up with a creative, appropriate reuse of the building that mimics what's been there for so long. On the sign, we're in the OL 40 zone. That's the zone that permits all those big office buildings behind us. The intent of the zone, when you look back on it historically, was to permit really big buildings on sites with a minimum lot size of 40 acres. This piece is 3/4 of an acre in size. So it never could do what the OL 40 zone intended to be done at the macro level. A sign in the OL 40 zone is supposed to be 150 feet off the street. That would place it at the back of the backyard behind this building. So it speaks to the impractical nature of the sign regs as applied to this site. If you looked at the side yard setback requirements for the sign is supposed to be 175 feet from the side property lines. Well, the whole lot's only 200 feet wide. So again, it speaks to an impractical application for this particular property of regulations that were supposed to be used for really big office buildings. Same can be said about the combined side yard requirements. So we think what we're doing here is moving the sign to a legally compliant location, still maintaining visibility, still using the same sign, and recognizing that it would be a hardship and practical difficulty to achieve technical compliance with sign regulations. To wrap up, I want to talk, and first of all, Mr. Warner, for the reasons stated, goals A, C, G, I, and M of the municipal land use law are met. A, C, G, I, and M. Okay. The negative criteria says you can't grant a variance unless it's without a substantial detriment or a substantial impairment to the zone plan. Here, a substantial detriment would be that dogs bark and they drive people nuts if homes are too close. Okay. The homes here are so far away, the conclusion must be that there would not be a substantial detriment to any homeowner. The zone plan test says this site should have been developed with a huge office building, and yet what happened here historically is it became an orphaned lot. It was never merged with the big buildings behind it. There's an office building 2 doors down, incidentally, a gastroenterology, I think that's the right word, doctor's office. That's the only other orphaned property in this whole complex of huge office buildings. So we could never do what the ordinance wanted, but we can do something that historically has been there for a long time without any apparent detriment. And overall, for me, big thing with all these cases I work on with old buildings is huge private sector investment and improvement in the property. So I think for those reasons, this is a great land use. Dogs, I believe, Mr. Warner, are inherently beneficial. And we're doing a good thing here. This is not only, I was a joke, this is not only good for dogs, it's great for families, it's great for community building. And it's a really good land use for this particular site.
Just for clarification, though, you're using the term inherently beneficial not as a positive criteria, automatic satisfaction in the planning sense, but just in a more general sense, correct?
I am saying we love dogs.
There you
right?
go.
Dogs are a good thing. Man's best friend.
Thank you.
But we have good proofs here on as to particular suitability. Okay.
Board members, any questions? Warner.
If no board members have
Just
any
one question on the
please,
dog
board members
runs,
first.
for the new dog runs. Are they gonna be roofed? Are they gonna just be open to the air, or?
They're opened.
the
They will
sky?
have man doors leading to 6 individual indoor suites. So dog can be inside, dog can be outside. And they'll be allowed to go out under a particular membership plan that allows them to have kind of the nicer suites in the building. No roof on those fenced areas, right? No roof.
No roof, okay, thank you. And then from the operations perspective, it's almost sounded like it was like curbside pickup and drop off. So Is that, usually in these types of businesses, you go in, you transact, you pay, you pick up your dog, you go out to your car with it. So that's all to be sort of prearranged with people. So that-
Prearranged, automated, and kind of a meet and greet thing. My clients estimate it takes 2 minutes to pick up and drop off, which speaks to great turnover in the parking lot.
I've got a question on the the ADA parking space. That's going to be gravel also?
So,
I just like
I know.
somebody coming out with a wheel. How do you get across the gravel?
We, I think TCC talked about that also. If you want, we will investigate it. If it has to be paved, because gravel is a barrier
Right,
for some challenged people, we will pave it,
right.
okay? I'm not sure, I don't know if Liz or Dave knows the answer to that. We'll look into it and comply if needed.
Yeah, because I just think that, that was an issue to me. How does somebody that's handicapped get in the front door?
The sidewalk is paved, right?
Sidewalk is paved.
Sidewalks.
Right there.
They still got to get across that 10 feet of gravel or whatever it will be.
I think where the spot is proposed, there's a sidewalk that goes right to the front where the cars are, right to where that spot would be.
Right.
So it would be from the door to the door of the vehicle. So that would be probably about 4 feet.
So here on slide 15, that's pretty zoomed in. The ADA stall, Mr. Chairman, is trying to rate.
Put all the wheelchairs in there.
Right, so that's the spot. There is gravel between it and the walkway, but it's a very short amount of gravel. If you all want, we'll do it. We have to.
I would just say it has to be compliant. It has to be paved.
It's fine by us.
There's got to be a mark.
Are you saying it has to be?
Paver.
Right.
Can't be cinder, can't be gravel.
So-
it's either pavement or paver. Pavers will pavement.
The applicant will agree to comply with a hard surface for the ADA stall connector to the sidewalk. Okay.
And with the operating model, they may not even need to get out of their car or such.
Right, right. Correct.
Okay. I'm looking at the Environmental Commission's report. Is there anything about outside lighting? Is that
So-
going to be handled by another witness?
No, right now, the building has an extensive array of lights and spotlights, building mounted around the whole building. Every man door is lighted, and there are spots on what would be the southeast corner of the building firing toward, I don't know why my mouse isn't working, firing toward the parking lot from this corner, lower left on the exhibit, okay? And the plan is to modernize all those light fixtures, if necessary, to put another one on the southerly side of the building, firing at the parking lot.
The Environmental Commission recommends that any new lighting should be night sky compliant. Is that your proposal?
Yes, we were actually thinking of motion detector lights anyway, which means they'd be off when you didn't have activity in the lot. But we would accept that as a condition.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just for
Sure.
clarification on that, is the applicant also stipulating to providing a lighting plan to our board engineer? Or if our board engineer feels the same as necessary?
Yeah.
Which it appears he does.
And the answer is yes.
Thank you.
I've never heard of no one. They also mentioned about standing water on the property. How is there, what is the situation? there? They might have seen it on, okay, you gotta just,
Excuse me.
yep, not a problem.
That's my medication alarm.
Oh, take your
Wow.
time.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I don't know whether the Environmental Commission just came out on a wet day or not, but they said there's standing water issues. Do we have any idea how they're going to be addressed, especially if you're going to have dog runs and the intentions of the
Yeah,
property?
I'm worried about that too.
We can work with Mr. Hanson on that. There are small spots that pond. They might very well have been because dogs dug holes.
Right.
There's also the apron of the driveway at the intersection with South Street that clearly needs to be filled in. We have a little gully there that is
Right.
ponding also. We can go through anything on the site with Mr. Hanson. Be glad to do that.
All right, great. And you said there's been some landscaping. Have trees been removed already?
Just the one dead tree that we.
I'm sorry,
Just-
we haven't sworn her in yet. We could. or-
I'd love to see her testify because I think she'd be really good.
Okay, but
There was a dead tree, a huge dead tree at the back of the property, the back of the building that has been removed. The other work that's been done is mostly pruning, lawn mowing. Anything else?
Leaves. Yeah, just leaves, raking.
Leaf raking.
Okay. Is there any landscaping plan that's going to be put into effect around near the building, in front of the building?
No, right now, we're just trying to remove things rather than add plant material.
Okay.
There's some nice trees on the perimeter of this property, a couple of nice ones in the backyard. They might be doing some foundation plantings, but nothing formal at this time.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. Is there any interaction with the Board of Health here in the township? Do they get involved in these kind of facilities at all in any aspect? Or it's just no?
So they say they haven't with their other facility. Mr. Warner, if you wanted a condition that said we have to check with Health Department to make sure we're okay, we'd be happy to comply with that.
I mean, there's the all other applicable outside agencies provision in any resolution, but the stipulation is specific notification by the applicant of the Board of Health.
And then on the plans that there was talk about the white vinyl fence, is that only on the rear of the property? Back-
Rear sides and return. So, hey, let me, hold on a second. So, sorry. That fence, this is why I love this property for the use. It goes all the way across the back property line, comes around the northerly property line. At the front of the building, Mr. Goldberg, it returns to the front corner of the building. Full containment. Does the same thing over on the south side, comes down the southerly property line, comes across the 3 parking stalls at the back of the parking lot, and returns to the building corner.
Okay, thank you.
Got it?
And item 3 on the TCC says that the TCC advised the applicant to indicate compliance with state electric vehicle charging requirements. Is that even?
So we did
something
that. It does not apply to parking lots of 25 or fewer stalls.
Okay.
We were at 13 stalls.
And is there any utility issues as far as water for the premises?
You mean
Sufficient water for what's
Potable?
proposed?
I assume, I mean, people lived here for years. I assume we have full utilities on the property.
By the way, that place existed when we moved here in 1964.
So
Our dog is stayed.
is that right? I mean, the
Recuse
Environmental Commission report says 45 years in that report. You're going back even further than that.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 14.
Just
A little older now.
in terms of any additional signage, just want to, says there's the one sign, I mean, occasionally with commercial businesses, I think we've seen this on Hanover Ave, where all of a sudden you'll have, things planted in the ground with wavy flags on them and colors, trying to draw attention to the commercial establishment. Would you be willing to stipulate there'll be no additional sort of other colorful signage or
Yes, we
anything?
will.
Okay.
The proposed sign's really in a great location on a nice busy street. They're going to do a lot with that. I hope they're going to add some paint to it. We know we're going to do plant material in the bed underneath the supports. That's all they need. So we'll stick to that, sure.
Is there going to be any lighting at the sign?
Oh, yeah, see that, right?
Any like downward lighting direction?
No lighting.
Okay.
And although we can't sort of enforce it, I would ask that you sort of check in with the Environmental Commission. We do have an invasive species listing of things to just not to plant anything that's invasive, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah, the environmental stuff.
Let's make sure. Did you hear that, Mr. Warner?
You'll stipulate to the do not plant list that's in the Environmental
Fair enough.
Commission's report?
Okay. Yes.
Are you removing any trees?
Just what we did, which was a wreck of a tree. Anything else you think's coming down?
How many
Mike?
trees were removed?
One dead tree at the back of the building was removed, and nothing else is coming down.
So presumably it wouldn't require replacement, but regardless, you'll comply with.
Trees are exempt from replacement.
Right.
I'm sorry?
Dead
Dead
are
trees,
exempt
right,
from
right.
replacement.
We're assuming it's a dead tree unless you've assessed it already. So you'll comply with the tree removal and replacement ordinance to the extent any replacement is necessary,
Yes.
i.e. the one tree if it wasn't dead.
Yeah.
There's a Monty Python reference, but I won't do it. But I appreciate and admire those who chuckle.
Monty Python.
That's right.
Me too.
Okay, board members, any other questions of this witness?
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else.
Any other questions of this witness? Mr. Warner?
Well, actually,
I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Could you just identify what Maples Lounge is? It's on the site plan.
That was mine.
So that is the remaining stump of the tree we took down.
Okay.
That tree probably had a caliber of 5 feet.
Wow.
And
It died.
but it was built right, I mean, it was right up against the house. And that's the one that was in danger of falling on the house. So we needed to dignify the stump, right? And make it a monument for the property.
Okay, so it's not an accessory structure.
No, no.
Okay.
Not subject to setback controls.
Okay. And then actually just have an operation issue because you're offering grooming, right? And does the grooming dog count? Is 30 dogs include anybody who might be coming for grooming, or is there like grooming customers who might come in addition?
It's just for the dogs coming in.
Yeah.
So it's just for the dogs doing daycare and boarding.
Okay.
Okay. Moreover, we're not even doing retail sales on the property. So you can't come here and buy like dog leashes. It's not a retail store. So the grooming is accessory to the boarding and daycare uses.
Okay.
That's the best way to put it.
Okay. Right, because those are my only two questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Hanson? Any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Trash pickup?
Duty calls for the
Yes.
dog waste. And then
And
for our clients, it's going to be basically carry in, carry out.
Okay.
Because it's probably going to be a little 11 gallon trash bag every few days with like lunch leftovers and things like that.
okay. And recycle from all the Amazon boxes?
That's all going out with the clients.
Okay, we'll go out. Mr. Warner?
Yeah, just want to make sure we had everything in the TCC report covered. Otherwise, it's separate property survey was submitted.
Yes.
Plans were modified, ADA stall, et cetera. We got the EBC, just number 3, number 4. No other proposed accessory structures. The tree stub does not count. 5, air conditioning unit. Yeah, I guess you addressed that. It's not going to be. It's not going to relocate the existing sign. Right. Key map, everything else was done. 7, 8, 9, 10.
So what we did, just so you know, Mr. Warner, was the plan shown on slide 15 was specifically revised to meet that TCC report.
All this, okay.
So that whole punch list you just rattled off is all in there.
And that's page 15 on Exhibit A1.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, how do you get in? Okay. Got it, thank you. And, one second. So no other, we covered the EC.
Just for clarification, when they came to TCC, they had sheds in the backyard, and the revised plan that was submitted with the February 27th date on it does not have the shed on it.
Right, sheds. Good, I was looking for it. Couldn't find it. No, nothing further. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Any more questions, board members? Any members of the public with any question to this witness? Please come up to the microphone, give your name, address, spell your last name, and ask your question. Is it on, Dave?
Like timed out.
They timed out.
Okay. My name is Joanne Martin. I'm a cardiologist at 457 South Street, right next to you. And I just have concerns about the noise level. We're going to have 30 dogs. I'm a cardiologist. I have to listen very carefully to patients. And I'm just very concerned about the dog runs, the dogs outside. That's my only concern.
So what we would tell you, first of all, is the speaker's on the north side of our building by probably 300 to 400 feet. Her building is on the far side of the driveway for 465 South Street. The north side of the building here will be the least active in terms of dog activities. The dog runs are all the way on the far side of the building, south side. And remember a couple of the things I shared with you. There are going to be no activities at night outside.
Well, that's kind of irrelevant because it's the daytime that we're seeing patients.
And then, the other thing, first of all, dogs bark. Okay, we all know that. What we've learned in the business is when they're together, they tend to bark less because they're not isolated. So what Jamie and Clay have shared is when you have dogs outside playing in the yard, they're usually more active with each other and consequently not barking. The other thing that happens here, which I didn't mention, is our two clients basically screen and interview all prospective dogs before they come to the building. Troublemakers don't make the cut, right? Aggressive dogs don't make the cut. The interviewing process is about 4 hours long, okay, to make sure you got a fit with, for instance, some of the dogs are going in the small dog room. Some of the large dogs go in a separate room. They have separate sleep areas and so on. So there's a lot of screening here that's done. The other thing I would tell you is this town, like a lot of towns, has what we call performance standards, which say things like you can't have too much smoke, you can't have vibration, you can't have noise up to certain levels. Noise runs with the land. It's not something that can be reviewed once and then forgotten about. If you had a problem a year from now, you can still file a complaint with Mr. Hanson. But I think you two, as clients and applicants, are going to try and do the best possible to keep noise to a minimum.
I suppose time will tell. But that's my main concern is the noise factor.
So, fencing, it's not going to help. No, not with noise. I mean, seriously, did Dr. Nelson did you have any problems with his operation?
I don't think he had big dog runs going on. I know Dr. Nelson pretty well. And yes, we did hear.
Madam, with the chair's permission, I'm going to swear you in. So what you're saying will count as testimony. If I may, Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to God or affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you for saying yes, and please say it again now.
Yeah, I think that we have heard his dogs occasionally. That was never a big issue. But I was never under the impression that he had like a big center.
So here is slide 11 in our exhibit A1. The Dr. Nelson had dog runs. They're kind of falling down in the photo. Let me see if I can give you a little more zoom on this. This side, which again is as far away from your building as possible, had runs. This is on the southwest side of the building. He had runs. And I don't know, I mean, maybe you heard him a little bit. Maybe you're going to hear this one a little bit. The standard before the board is substantial detriment. And what we're trying to say is, you're not going to hear this all the time. Most of the activities are going to be within the building.
I was
Where,
wondering if you had a time that you would be doing the runs, the dogs would be outdoors.
yeah, that'll run basically until 6:30 p.m. scheduled. So, dogs will go out and come back. It will be during business hours, yes.
If I may ask a question, Mr. Chairman? That might be rough. How many dogs maximum would be out in the dog runs at any given time?
6 runs where
Okay. 6 runs.
The 6 runs mean 1 dog per run, 6 dogs maximum at any given time?
Yes.
Okay.
But that's not counting the pool area. So if you have 6 dogs in runs, will you also have, let's say, another 6 dogs playing in the pool? Like,
So the pool
how does that
use
work?
is scheduled.
Okay.
You're not going to get 20 dogs in there at a
Right.
time. I didn't want to get into too much of this, but there are membership plans involved with the
Right.
use, like A, B, C level plans. And the dogs with plans that permit full
Sure.
usage will be allowed there. That's from 10 to 2 only, 10 a.m., 2 p.m., and it's scheduled.
But what would the maximum number of dogs at any time in the pool backyard area minus the runs be?
Minus the runs. The answer would be 10, approximately 10 minus the runs.
So 16 dogs outside if you count the runs?
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right, so, this might be self-evident, but that's a maximum number, like, not all the dogs are going to be in the
Sure.
runs at the same time, they're not all going to be in the pool at the same time.
Bless you. If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
And we could put it as a condition of approval, but it's the law, so it's required implicitly anyway. The applicant recognizes you're subject to NJAC 7:29, the state noise regulations, as well as our local ordinances, which, as I understand it, comport with those state regulations and therefore have been approved by the State Department of Environmental Protection, DEP. So it's 65 dBA daytime, 50 dBA nighttime at the property lines, if I recall correctly.
You got it.
They have to be quieter at night, the dogs, but I know that doesn't necessarily speak to your issue. It's the daytime that you want them the quietest, perhaps. But there is a state regulation, and we have an ordinance that comports with that regulation, and it can be. They have to abide by it, and if they're found not to abide by it, then there's special machinery that I'm not qualified to utilize. I don't know. I think we have someone who is qualified at the township.
Yeah.
Yes. And we do have someone who does that, who's qualified here, certified here.
We've used them a couple times in other work games.
Yeah.
This would be the type of thing that if the complaint was heard, they make a point of coming out and setting up their meter and
To check.
doing the readings.
So, yeah, enforcement, like anything in life, is not perfect. It's difficult, but there are mechanisms that you can avail yourself of as a neighbor to ensure that they're complying with all the conditions of approval, if there is one, including state law.
And I might add, Mr. Warner, section 9547 of the town code says what you just said about the state code.
Yeah, I didn't memorize that one. I was
I
showing
look it
off enough with 7:29, right?
I was pretty impressed with that. But that's the citation locally.
Even I have some limits. But thank.
I just have another question on the outdoor
Just a
rear
second,
area.
before we go back,
Oh, sure.
any other members of the public with any questions? Okay,
Is it correct to assume the pool does not require any sort of fencing around it?
Well, no, it does. And all pools do. And
Right,
it's,
so
in this
because it's
case,
24 inches, they would still have to have
only our fence is 6 feet high.
around the pool area only.
Yes. No, well, it's around the entire
Outside.
backyard at 6 feet.
Okay, so there's no need for a secondary fence around the pool.
No.
And is there any sort of service being offered? So you have the dog runs, you have the pool time. Oftentimes facilities such as this will offer outdoor, free rein play time, whatever. Are there going to be other dogs that are going to be allowed to run in sort of a play area, play time out at the
You
same
mean
time?
out in the main yard?
In the rear, yes.
Right.
Right.
But the backyard, the runs are going to be for.
So the backyard area, not the dog runs,
Not the dog
will
runs.
be open to all the dogs. And you may have just heard the pool is like regular pools, Memorial Day
Right.
to Labor Day.
So to the testimony earlier, during the day business hours, I guess there's some sort of throttling or regulating to the testimony of maybe a maximum of 16 dogs outside at one point. There won't be some sort of, open play time where all 25 dogs are outside and just having a
Right.
half hour of play time.
We're hearing a maximum of 10 for that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other board members with questions? Any? Okay. Next witness, or what do we want to do? Does any board members have questions about the plans, the interior plans? And
Aside from there's only one little room for cats. No.
Just, not a question. Are we deliberating yet or no? We're still.
No, we're just, applicant's still putting on their case. So I'm just wondering whether council is sort of wondering whether he's going to put another witness on. I just wanted to know if any board members take questions of the architect, because he's here. If they have questions, we can ask him to be brought. Any questions necessary? What do you think? Yes, okay. Does any member of the public want to hear from the architect as to any specifics about the building? No. Okay, hearing none, it's your decision.
Yes, we're going to close our case at this point.
Okay. Pardon? Yeah, any members have any public comment on this application? In other words, you want to testify. I know we swore you in, Doctor, before. Do you have anything further you want to add? Okay. We'll proceed. Any summation?
So as Mr. Tobia concisely testified, this application meets the standard for the use variance. And under the circumstances, he has testified to all of the criteria necessary for the variances to be granted. And we therefore ask the board to grant the variances. Thank you very much.
Okay. Board members, any discussion? I know from my own experience that this veterinary service was up and running when I moved here as a teenager in 1964. There's no doubt that all of my friends, current friends who have dogs, whenever they are going away, it's always a scramble to find a place to place the dog. So it's pretty obvious, at least to me, that it's something that's necessary and beneficial to the public. It's also in an ideal location as far as noise is concerned. It's not going to interfere with residences. The concern of Dr. Martin is well noted, and there's state regulations and local ordinances to enforce compliance. But otherwise, this property will never be used. It's just going to sit there. It's quite unsuitable to be a residence. No one's going to move next to all those office buildings and be separated from any type of a neighborhood. So I would be in favor of granting this application, but I welcome comments from other board members.
So comment on the noise. I think you're opposite a ball field. Okay,
Right.
this is not going to be the noisiest thing. And the trucks that pull out of Seton Hackney, you know, with the trailers and stuff, they can be. And that's, I don't know that that's heavily controlled.
True.
I've spent a lot of time in that area. That gets noisy.
Right.
We ride our bikes there. To Mr. Toby's point, we're down to that park pretty often. It's 4 miles.
All the
All the way to the post office.
Right. Any other board members with comments?
I would go back to the barking, because we have a dog in our neighborhood that is outside barking all the time. It's super annoying, but it doesn't meet the standard of loudness that it's an enforceable action.
Now, there is a barking,
So,
there is a barking dog ordinance.
okay,
in
we're getting
Board
some
of Health.
info here. Okay,
In the Board
so
of Health.
that's good to know, because now if the doctor has an issue and it doesn't meet the loudness of the decibel level, there's some other alternative for her to seek recourse. Should it be in, great. That makes me a lot more comfortable.
Okay, any other comments from board members? If
Board
not,
of
I'll
Health will be
entertain
hearing
a
from me.
motion.
Mr. Chairman, with
Yes.
your permission, I can
Summarize the,
relief and the conditions if it helps in the motion making.
yes, please do.
It's, as I understand it, the applicant is seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval and D1 use variance approval to convert an existing veterinarian office, well, no longer existing, might have been abandoned, but previously existing veterinarian office to an animal daycare, grooming and boarding facility, along with bulk variances for the front yard setback, for the sign not being 150 feet setback from the front property line, the side yard setbacks from the sign not being 175 feet setback from either side property line, and the combined side yard setback not being at least 350 feet for the sign. I have the applicant's numbers and the TCC numbers didn't exactly coincide. I take that back. The applicant's notice numbers on the notice did not exactly coincide with the numbers on the setbacks on the plan. Which one am I going with? None of them are anywhere close, obviously, to 150, 175, and 350. But am I going with the plan or am I going with the notice?
So let me get out the TCC report.
My apologies, Mr. Chairman, for not getting the clarification on that
That's all right.
beforehand.
I can tell you the numbers in the notice were based on my scale dimensions from the plan.
I'll go with the notice and not the plan.
And let's just see what the discrepancy is. Where do you see that, Mr. Warner, in the TCC report?
The zoning table on the plan had some setbacks.
Oh, you said the TCC report.
No, strike that. The zoning table and the notice didn't match up, I don't believe.
And are we talking for the sign you're saying, right?
For the sign.
I think all that was put on the plan, on the site plan, were the existing nonconformities of the building itself. So they would not apply to the sign. And
Sign, it says sign setback from right of way, sign setback from side yard on the sign code table on the plan.
maybe I'm looking at the wrong table. Hold on a second, please.
I'm going to see, you might have to stop.
Kind of like that ringtone.
It's on A-0.
Yeah, February 27, 2024 architecturals.
And where, so that's up on the monitor. Can you tell me what you're looking at, please?
No, that's not it. What he has up is not.
It's like, yeah, you're not looking, yeah, it's,
Sheet A-0.
sheet A0,
It's A0.
February 27, 2024, MVG Designs.
That's what that is. So, let me just say, and let me repeat,
Oh, there it is on the left side.
Yeah, sign click.
Oh, right.
It's on the drawing by the parking lot.
That's the front side.
it's, right.
No, look at, go in the bottom left corner of what's up on the screen. Don't move the screen, go to the bottom left corner.
Not the same.
Is that, what does that
No.
say? I can't read it.
It's just table of contents. So let me repeat. When we did the notice, I scaled all those
It's
dimensions.
simple. If you're going with the notice, I'll go with the
Let's
notice.
go with the notice, please. And it was 3 items, right? Front yard, side yard single, and combined side yard.
Line side yard. So those are the deviations. Again, preliminary and final major site plan, D1 use variance in the 3 bulks, front yard setbacks, side yard setback, and combined side yard setback, all with respect to the sign. If the app, again, it requires at least 5 of the 7 board members for passage. And if it is a motion to grant, I'll assume it's with all the stipulated 2 conditions, including those set forth in the TCC report, the Environmental Commission report, as well as the following that I noted, which are a lighting plan and night sky compliant lighting subject to the approval of our board engineer, standing water to be resolved, subject to the approval of our engineer, notify the Board of Health specifically, tree removal and replacement subject to the review and approval of our board engineer. The ADA space will be compliant by way of paving or use of pavers. It'll be a hard surface. No additional signage, including no temporary signage, no sign lighting. And that is all I had for additional conditions.
Okay.
And if that's it, I'll assume that's the motion to grant with all those conditions, if it's a motion to grant.
Board members, do I have a motion?
Motion to grant.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Santiago?
Mr. Goldberg,
Yes.
Ms. Brockman,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Schuster,
Yes.
Mr. Trachtenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
and Mr. Woodford.
Yes.
So moved.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm holding on to
You're
their
good.
building- I'm holding on to their building plans because it came in as requiring the use variance. And I submit the building plans so they get a jump on the building permit review. So
Sure.
that after the next reading of the resolution, they can pick up their building permits.
Sure. Why not? Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Won't regret it.
Okay. Any other matters for the board? No other matters? Motion to adjourn. You gotta say it out loud.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.